Hello, 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 and welcome to your Mindful Monday session today. I just realized I was playing my guitar earlier and there's a whole mess of cables. And I'm not going to touch them because there's a whole mess of cables there. But it's because I was practicing my guitar. And you can see a little orange fake practice golf ball there as well in the corner if you're really eagle-eyed. So welcome to this Monday session, this Mindful Monday session, where we're going to be exploring the topic, I'm going to bring this a bit closer, of motivation. And I was inspired by a talk a few weeks ago to explore this topic. And so hopefully you find it interesting, but also relaxing or refreshing or whatever it is you want to get out of today's session. You can set an intention for yourself and achieve that or point yourself towards it and see what happens. See what happens. So let's define mindfulness as we always do. So every session, if you've ever done a session with me, we always use define mindfulness. And we do this because I think it's a really nice way to kind of reset and approach each session as a fresh session and a brand new session. And I always have to find the definition, even though I may have recited this definition over 100 times. But even in my mind, it seems fresh as well, which is lovely. So what is mindfulness? Well, mindfulness means maintaining a moment by moment awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our bodily sensations, and our surrounding environment through a gentle and nurturing lens. Mindfulness also involves acceptance, meaning that we pay attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them, without believing, for instance, that there is a right or a wrong way to think or feel in a given moment. When we practice mindfulness, our thoughts tune into what we're sensing in the present moment rather than rehashing the past or indeed imagining the future. So I encourage you now to get yourself comfortable. And I am here sitting with a chair with a back here and resting on the back of that chair. My legs, my feet are flat on the ground, and I'm going to put my hands on my lap here. And when you're comfortable, when you're ready, just close your eyes. We're going to explore the topic of motivation. We're going to run for about 15, 20 minutes or so. Let's see where we go. And let's start by taking a few deep breaths in together. So breathe in and breathe out. Inhale deeply. and exhale completely. Inhale and exhale. Inhale deeply and exhale completely. Breathe in and breathe out. And keep breathing slowly, softly, fully, and with intention. What do I mean by that? I mean that I want you to focus on your breath. I want you to actively breathe. I want you to control your breathing. It's something that we do automatically and something that we rarely think about. But when we focus our attention on our breath, we point our attention inwards, not only within our physical bodies, but we point our attention inwards to the moment that we're in. Now, you may find thoughts or feelings arise during this practice. And when you notice them, just bring your attention back to your breath. There's no need to judge those thoughts or feelings. There's no need to pursue or provide them with any more attention than is necessary. Just use that noticing as an invitation to refocus your attention on your breath or my voice. The focus of today's session is motivation. And I've got a little definition for you. I found a few definitions. I don't like that one. Let's do this one. This is from the Cambridge Dictionary. Ooh la la. There's a couple here. So I like this one. Enthusiasm for doing something. Enthusiasm for doing something. An example would be, he's bright enough student. He's a bright enough student. He just lacks motivation. We'll come back to that. Or also the willingness to do something. The willingness to do something. Now, both of those definitions require, talk about motivation as requiring enthusiasm or willingness. And what it suggests, therefore, is that that lack of or an absence of enthusiasm or an absence of willingness means that action is not taken. So I like this example. He's a bright enough student. He just lacks motivation. Now, he lacks motivation to study. He doesn't lack motivation for life. People often say, I find it difficult to get motivated. But the truth is, motivation is a constant. Motivation is simply the direction of one's efforts. And so if we take our student example again, he's bright, but he lacks motivation. His time, his attention, his efforts are not being used towards study, but they're not being completely unused. That's not possible. That's not possible. They have to be used somewhere. And that's what I mean by motivation being a constant. Because we do what we do. We do what is important to us. We do, if you like, what we're motivated to do. The problem here is not motivation, or the question rather. The question is, what is our motivation towards? In the case of the student, his motivation is not towards studying or learning at school, but it might be towards friendships or connecting with friends or sport or social media. The motivation for these other things is stronger than the motivation to study. And when the motivation towards something else is stronger, that will be the victor. That will be the winner. So a good example is exercise. People say, I'd like to exercise more, but I can't get motivated. Well, you have the motivation to exercise versus the motivation not to exercise. The motivation to just relax, let's say. Or the motivation to clean the house or go out. And the fact of the matter is the motivation to exercise is not as high as the motivation to do other things. The same is true for healthy eating, perhaps. The same is true for studying. The same is true for cultivating friendships, perhaps. The same is true for change. Often people want to see a change in their lives, or sometimes desperate to see a change in their lives. But the motivation to change is not stronger than the motivation to stay the same. The motivation to change is not stronger than the motivation to stay the same or to remain or to be comfortable. Because when we stay the same, we remain in our comfort zone. We don't need to do anything different or difficult or challenging. And that's a really safe but limiting environment to be in. True change only happens when the motivation to change outweighs the motivation to stay the same. It's the only time significant change can happen. And it's personal, and it takes a slightly deeper knowing. But the beautiful thing is that when it does, and when the penny drops, we don't need to feel motivated in order to take action. When we know deep down something is good for us, we don't need to feel motivated. Do you have to feel motivated to brush your teeth? Do you have to feel motivated to go for a shower? Or do you just do those things because they feel like the right thing to do, because you know that they are good for you? When you take care of your body, when you love your body, you love your experience, you want to do the absolute best for it. When you know what is good for you, it doesn't make sense to do the things that are bad for you. In a moment, I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And when I get to 1, just bring your awareness back to the room that you're in. Try not to rush off anywhere. Five, four, three, two, and one. Slowly, softly open your eyes. Bring your attention back to the room that you're in. Hi there. We don't need to feel motivated to take action. We can take action. We don't need to wait for a feeling or try to cultivate a feeling. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. As I mentioned, try not to rush off anywhere. Give yourself a moment, a few moments, just to bring yourself back. Don't jump into your emails. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time, next week, same place. Feel free to subscribe or like or share and all that jazz. And I will see you again. Take care.